completely human with a diagnosis that is only a part of who I am.
It's Tuesdays with Tawana. Let's get it. You ready? Let's go. Hey, what's good, fam? It's Tuesdays with Tawana. What's going on? Always good to be in the building on Tuesday with you, building community one episode at a time. I am extremely excited about tonight. So much so, y'all get a little special gift because I am going live on Facebook and on YouTube. So go on to my page. We're about to share it on the page of our special guests. I'll get to that in a minute. And go on to YouTube, click, like, share, because this is an episode that you do not want to miss, without a doubt, without a doubt. So here I am, Dr. Tad, your host and your curator for Tuesdays with Tawana, where we build community one episode at a time. We keep it Black, we keep it funky, we keep it real. We talk, we chop it up, we talk about current events, we laugh, we joke, we get serious, we get down and dirty, we exchange, we're curious. But first and foremost, and above all, we center Black beloveds for our own liberation. And if you're down for the liberation, you could be liberated too. But hey, we're focusing on Black beloveds and beyond. We have our First Nation Indigenous beloveds and others who are historically oppressed and marginalized, and we are here to get free. So, with that, let me just talk about a few, how we operate in this free space. We try to do our best to include community in this. So if you are here for the first time, welcome. Talk to us in the chat, say hello, ask your questions, make comments, and we'll insert your narrative into this moment because this is about building community. So we want to hear from you. We want to engage. And tonight's episode is a special episode because we have a special guest with us on today. And I am going to bring him in to the room so I can formally introduce this amazing, beloved friend, brother, leader, activist, teacher, father, DNA that is amazing, honoring his mom, his late father, his partner, his children, his community. Listen, y'all get ready. I need y'all to clap it up for my beloved H Soul in the building. He is here.
That's a lot, sis.
Listen.
You know how to bring a brother out. You know what I'm saying?
You know how we do, and it's only getting started. Because let me just pop this up here real quick. I got a little surprise. I think. Where is it? Let me find it. Here we go. Remember this?
I do. Yeah, yeah. That's how you know we go back like rocking chairs. You know what I'm saying? We go back
Yes.
like rocking chairs.
Yes, 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 yes. So, before we jump right in and get things started, I do want to let beloveds know who those of you who are not familiar with H Soul, Hasira Ashemu. Um, I want to just posit some seeds so that you may open up your mind, your heart, and your soul to what you are about to receive on tonight as we just chop it up tonight. H. Soul is a speaker and an author, a strategist for leaders seeking to create social and culture change. I won't read his entire bio, but I need y'all to know that I personally have witnessed this amazing brother just evolve in community. And from the educational sphere to the professional sphere to community organizing and an activist, and the love for his children and how his children just run the spectrum of beauty and divinity all in their special way, and each part of them is a piece of H Soul. It's it's just so magical and so amazing. H Soul is also the founder of True North Institute. If you don't know about True North Institute, please check it out. Check out his Facebook page, his LinkedIn page. You can find the information there. True North Institute is making major changes in communities, for individuals, for collectives, for professionals, for nonprofits, for those who are just trying to make it through these trying times. Brother will have you doing some deep work, and it is amazing. And yes, yes, look who is joining us. Magical man indeed, for sure. Yes. So, with that, welcome H Soul to Tuesdays with Tawana. Talk to the people, say hello.
Listen, I talk to the people. I want to talk to you, sis, and just really thank you for the opportunity to hang out with you for a little while. Like I said, we go back like rocking chairs. You and I have been on tangential journeys in the healing and the recovery and moving in to empowerment and redemption and rebirth. And I just want to say that you are and have been a shiro of mine so deeply in how you walk. The way that you walk in your truth is unlike anything I've seen, given what you're faced with. And so I just wanted to wait until we got on camera so I can embarrass you, just to let you know exactly how much I love you and appreciate you and see you as one of the most authentic human beings I've ever come into contact with. And that's real spill. One of the most authentic human beings I've ever been blessed to connect with. So thank you, sis, for being in my life and for inviting me on your show. I'm just honored in every sense of the word. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. That means a lot. When we talk about we go back like rocking chairs, I'm gonna say this and then we're gonna go because we're not gonna have me boo-hooing on my own show. That's what we're not about to do today. Okay. That's what we're not gonna do. So with
I
that,
hear you.
uh, I do, our bond and the energy that we share um came full circle when I was diagnosed. And there are some things that I won't publicly mention because it was so sacred. And to this day, 8 years later, I just know that the brothers came through for me and my family. But even before that, when I was first diagnosed, H Soul was one of the first people to come and see about me, and we chanted, we prayed, we burned sage, we cried, we laughed, and we did all the things. And H Soul met me where I was. And you know how some people come into your space, well, you should do this and don't do that. He met me where I was and has not stopped rocking with me since. So this is who is before you today, this amazing king who is going to share some wisdom, some knowledge, some real talk. So y'all get ready, buckle up, and let's get it popping. Let's get it popping. So I want to get us kicked off. I want to start with a post that you shared with us. Your if you don't follow H Soul, his I don't know who needs to hear this. Always seems to be for me. And I know I'm not the only one that feels that way, but this particular post was on a Friday, and it was called Freedom Friday. And this is the question that H Soul posed: if race is merely a racist social construct that has no scientific basis, that was created to divide and conquer, why do we today continue to identify ourselves based upon this, and what impact does this have on our mental, emotional, and financial health? Damn. That, now I try not to cuss on this show because I really want young people to tap in, and so it really messed me up. I want to use the F bomb, but it really messed me up because of the work that I do, and, you know, centering Black beloveds. And I posted blackity, black, 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 black all day. So talk to us, H Soul. Talk to us about that thought and that challenge.
Well, sis, first let me say, as you know, I'm the son of a Black Panther. So the blackity black 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 thing is runs in my DNA. It goes generations back. You know, my auntie was the founder of uh, Black Journalists Association, that's now National Association. My uncle was the founder of Blacks in Energy Association, which is today the largest Black organization of its kind. So the conceptualization of Black and the use of the term Black in my analysis of it, I didn't arrive at that point lightly. Uh, I'll go further to say that I lived in Africa for 10 years. I was organizing in Africa. I organized the fifth region, which is now part of the African Union itself. So I'm very when I'm challenging the use of the word Black as an identifier for us. I'm seeking to create a conversation and a dialogue and a thought process that would allow us to arrive at some to be free. My highest value is freedom. And I say that because very recently I read a book by Henry Louis Gates Jr., also known as Skip Gates, and it's called The Black Box. And in that book, he is articulating how Blackness, how yes, it brings a belonging to us through skin color, but it also creates a boundary for us as well. And it's that boundary that I'm interested in us talking about and challenging. In what ways does identifying by the slave master's identification limit what it is that we see ourselves capable of as individuals and as a collective? And so I'll say this, and then I'll open it back up. When I went to Africa, it was very clear to me that African people do not identify themselves as Black people. They identify themselves based upon the tribe that they're from. So I lived in Ghana for 10 years. So there were the people of Ghana are the Ashanti, the Tree, the Ga, the so many, the Fanti, the Awe. There's hundreds of tribes, and that's how people identify themselves, is through their cultural practices, beliefs, et cetera, but not based upon their color beliefs. That only came once we got on the ship, and there was for those of people who watched Roots, there was a very seminal moment in that movie when all of us had been put on the ship in Roots, and they were in the bottom of the ship, and the brother soldier, the brother warrior turned and screamed out, "Turn to your brother and your sister and teach her or him your language and learn theirs." And that's when we began to amalgamate into one tribe, is because we were forced into a trauma bond. In the truest sense of the word, it was a trauma bond that erased all of our tribal cultural differences, and then we became identified based upon the trauma that we were experiencing. So I just want us to be able to unpack that for ourselves, see what parts of Blackness work for us, see what parts of Blackness work against us, and challenge those and expand it and see in what other ways can we possibly identify ourselves, maybe not exclusively, but in addition to identifying as Black, that will allow us a more global, a more expansive definition of who we actually are as human beings.
Look, Tanisha said, mind blown. Told y'all, buckle up. I told y'all, buckle up. So, my follow up question then is, because I've been reflecting on this since you posted it on Friday. And my follow up question is, what then can bring us? Let me back up for a minute. So, I'm a womanist. The term womanism created by Alice Walker, and it was developed after Black feminism, but we have inserted it for ideological purposes and for how we be, how we learn, how we put it before Black feminism so we can tap into our own Blackness to then define Black feminism, right? Instead of pulling out of feminism and then changing to make it fit to our culture and our being, right? So with that, what is it, or what do you believe? How do we shift that narrative from being this Black collective, right, to something that is a shared culture? I mean, in this Western culture, it's hierarchy, and even Black has, Angela Davis was like, no, I'm going to call it Black because African American means that we are Africans, a part of this white system. So we're going to get rid of African Americans, and we power to the people, Black power. And so how do we find this common essence that will then bring us together, that is not born out of this trauma bond, this social construct that demeans us and diminishes us and dehumanizes us?
That's a beautiful question. And so, Sister Tawana, I think the answer lies in the reason why you instinctively and intuitively desire to use the word womanist instead of using the word feminist is the same reason why I'm challenging us to look at why we use the word Black instead of using the word Afro-Indigenous, which is the word that I prefer to use, right? And not indigenous necessarily because it means indigenous to this land, but it means indigenous to this earth, because we know that from scientific basis that we were the original people on this planet. So everywhere where there are people on this planet, we are indigenous to those spaces. So when I'm in Costa Rica, I'm an indigenous person to Costa Rica. When I'm in Africa, I'm an indigenous person to Africa. When I'm in Asia, the oldest people in Asia are Afro-Indigenous people. So I choose to use that as a defining terminology. But and be that as it may, to your larger point, your challenging of feminism was, I'm sure, rooted in the fact that feminism comes out of this white construct where there's this there's this battle between the sexes, right? There's women and men, where in Afro-Indigenous culture, and this was always seen as complementary, but in feminism, you don't feel that complementary spirit. What you feel is this antagonistic spirit, which is, of course, true for European culture. European culture is a warlike culture. And so, of course, anything that comes out of it, as far as its conceptions, always sees dichotomies and sees polarities as being at war with each other. And so, you then instinctively and intuitively and ancestrally, I would argue, have moved to the term womanist. That Alice Walker, of course, a beautiful Black woman writer, who then instinctively and intuitively knew that she needed to separate her experience as an African indigenous woman who was proud of such and standing up for such, but did not want the historical, philosophical ties to a culture that is void of complementaries, right? And so that's what I'm saying for Blackness. Blackness is set up in this culture to be antagonistic, in constant antagonism with whiteness, which is false, because there's no such thing as white people. They don't exist. They are European people. There are pink people, but there are no white people. That's a mythology that they've created because it stands juxtaposed to Afro-Indigenous people on the earth. And so this is intuitively where I'm guided to move outside of the boxes of Blackness, not because I'm ashamed, but because I know that who I am in my totality could not be contained inside of a color declaration that was made from the people who enslaved my ancestors.
Okay, everybody, just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Whew. Okay. So, thank you for that. And we are a both and type people, right? We are not individualistic. We are not one way. We are very full. And that's a part of Alice Walker's definition of womanism. And womanism is not another elitist ideology, but it's one that is inclusive, where we lift as we climb, right? So we're a both and kind of people. So when we talk about showing up in this space and time, where we have the administration with the, oh, Tawana, don't curse. I'm really trying. The mess that we have and the illegal actions that are being taken, and the capitalism and all the other grueling things. How do we? No, that's too broad of a question, and that's unfair. What are your feelings about what's going on right now? And what are some first steps that you think, or that you're taking, or that you think that we can take as a collective, as a culture, as a community?
Ooh, this is juicy. All right, so now we're going down the rabbit hole now, sis. But you asked me. You asked me. So I love where we are right now. I love the point in time that we are in right now, because what we are getting is a clarification of where we actually are. People wanted to sell us on this idea of a post-racial America after they elected Obama as the administrator of a white supremacist state. And that was the Kool-Aid, like Jim Jones gave to all his Black parishioners down there in Guyana, serve to put us asleep and serve to have us in this fantasy, because we deeply desire to want to be a part of this experiment, this American experiment. But now, what I love about T. Rump is that he actually represents the truth of America. He actually represents the unmasked, unfettered, bold, audacious, criminal behavior. So now we can't pretend no more. So guess what? Now we got to go plant a little farm in the back, which we should have been doing anyway. Now we got to go make sure our money is stuffed under our mattress because we don't know what this. Now we got a jump bag. Now we got a passport. Now we got a firearm. Now we have all the things that we should have been working on when we thought that our friends were in the White House. Now all the illusions have been dropped. This is an opportunity that we have gotten the opportunity for the second time, by the way, in the last 10 years to peek behind the curtain of the Wiz and see the short, stumpy, maniacal control freak that is actually behind the glitz and the glamour and the hat and the, and I know we're going to get to the whole Kendrick Lamar thing, but if you can read what's being said by our people, that is, we're all saying the same thing, right? When you see the role that Samuel L. Jackson was playing there, we're saying, fine, we get it. So let's keep it 100. And that's important for clarity, as you know, sister, having battled with you through a life challenging disease. The first thing that you have to do is come to terms with the fact that that's what you got. And that's what you have, because you cannot stand on your square and fight nothing if you are still delusional about where you're at and what your situation is. So now we get a chance to take a deep breath. What we gonna do? Back in the 60s, they say, Black people, what we gonna do? What we gonna do? And this, for me, is the space that I think Afro-Indigenous people in America find themselves in. Now everybody got passports. Now everybody's hopping to the first top 10 places in the world that Black Americans are the most accepted. You got Black folks pulling up on Portugal, Black folks pulling up on Mexico, Black folks pulling up on Costa Rica. Black folks are fleeing America like rats from a sinking ship. And listen, I think it's all a good thing. I think it's all a good thing. Clarity is always a good thing, even if it's a little bit painful.
Another deep breath. My beloved sister said, are we passing a collection plate to bless the prophet? My. That she laid out. Jan is watching us on Facebook. She's like, yes, my brother is on here. Larry, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Beloveds are on here today. Thank you for that. And that is a very, it reminds me of when integration happened and how everyone thought it was this great thing, and it really wasn't. It really wasn't. And it seems as if now, with seeing with clear eyes, and our third eye, and tapping into who we are indigenously, our sacred prowess, we didn't need to be integrated because we were never integrated.
Right.
We were invited, but we weren't invited to the table. We were invited to the kids' table, and then or even on the floor, and then the crumbs, right? So, so I love how you say, you know what? If we really take a seat, sit back, as many Black beloveds are doing. It's not that we're not doing anything, but one, rest is revolutionary. Two, we're about sick and tired of being sick and tired, and we've been sick and tired of being sick and tired for a long time. We must do the work that our soul must have, right? Alice Walker and the late Reverend Dr. Katie Geneva Cannon says. So now we turn this crisis, which is a dangerous opportunity. Right? You said that this clarity is going to come with some pain. So with this, it's doing what our beloveds did back in the mid 1800s when we were building HBCUs and churches and printing presses and all of that and knowing who we are, which is the work that you're doing right now with the boot camp, is doing that deep work on reflecting who we are, what informs us right now, and how do we then shift that negative talk or that, rooting into this westernized culture that is antithetical to who we are. What W.E.B. Du Bois talked about, this double consciousness, like I'm living here but I'm not really here, like this is not me. So that gives me a nice transition to what happened at the Super Bowl. We have this great American game. It was historic on various levels, but we had two black quarterbacks, for brevity, two black quarterbacks playing in the big game for the first time. And a, a Pulitzer Prize scientist, rap artist from Compton, family man, solo for the first time in the halftime show. So we had all of this whiteness, right? And then inserted this beautiful, magical, mystical, powerful moment. Can you speak to your personal experience watching that not watching, experiencing that halftime show, and how important it is for us to get it and not to be on these streets trying to explain to white people who don't understand?
Or black people who don't understand.
Yeah, thank you for adding that, because I've had,
Right.
yeah,
Or that, right?
yeah,
Because there's
or
a
that.
lot of that going around as
Yes,
well, as we know.
yes.
So what is so powerful? I mean, there's so many powerful messages. There's so many angles that we can come from in talking about this. I'm inclined to address the fact that of the why. Why would they put Kendrick Lamar in that spot? And that's the part that I want us to reflect on for a moment, because I think that we in our 500-year journey here have forgotten that we are the source of all the energy that they are drawing from in order to have a game in the first place. If you remove Afro-Indigenous people off of the field, if you remove them from the positions, if you remove them from the art, you are left with a dead thing. And so they put him there because they wanted to be successful. They put it there because they need and feed off of our energy, regardless of what the politics are that are coming out of our mouth. They know that they don't like the politics, but they want the views. They want the world to tune in. They want that energy because the greed of capitalism is going to listen. We'll put any bait on the hook that we need to in order to get the draw. And so he used it masterfully in the true in the way that Muhammad Ali used his positionality, in the way that Marvin Gaye used his positionality as an artist, as in the way that Miles Davis used his positionality, in the tradition of Black artists, that when they have a moment, that they turn that moment into a movement and gather the energy needed and necessary, and then talk like a djembe drum to those who have ears who can hear what he's actually saying. If you couldn't hear what he was saying, that means you're not on his vibration, and you can't explain vibrations to people no more than you can explain people how to swim or how to do the shuffle. It's experiential. Either you feel it or you don't. And so if you didn't feel it, whether you were black, white, brown, red, whatever, it's cool. It's no shame, no blame. That rhythm wasn't for you. But for those of us who understood the vibration that he's on, it was an affirmation that we are global, universal, powerful people that find ourselves in a circumstance that's going to require our creativity and our belief and our unity of people of like mind on that vibration, in the same way that Harriet Tubman put out the call for those of us who were ready to run north. I tell people all the time, and it's important for us to understand that over the course of the Underground Railroad that lasted over 100 years and freed 170,000 souls, that only represented 4% of the enslaved population. Only 4% of the people, only 4% of Afro-Indigenous people that were enslaved ever dared to run for their freedom. So there's no reason for us to believe that those of us that are running for freedom, that it's going to be this mass movement of us, because it's not. It's going to be those few, those the tip of the spear that are vibrating and get it, that we already know that we're about to do the shuffle. So we're gonna move 3 steps to the left, 3 steps to the right. We're gonna pump it back one. We're gonna go front one, and then we're gonna move it to the side again. And here we go. And what somebody said, what doesn't, what people don't get does not need to be explained.
Mm. Mm.
So that's my take on the Super Bowl.
We could probably do like 2 and 3 episodes just on the halftime show.
For real.
Easily.
For real.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because at first I found myself, well, actually, I found myself sending the breakdown to beloveds who just was really, like, honestly, like, curious, like, yo,
Yeah.
my brain just trying to listen and experience. It was, I need to go back. I need to watch it again. So those, when we approach things with a level of sincere and authentic curiosity,
Yeah.
I'm all down for having the dialogue about what the colors meant, what the dance meant, what the small A meant, what Serena's presence meant because of what happened at Wimbledon. And she was, just berated through the media. And now she was a free Black woman on a stage with Black beloveds from Compton, just free, right? So, it I if you're curious, and let me back up for a minute. So the work that I've done, and I'm right now in transition, just spiritually, I want to be in alignment with what direction I'm going to go in, because before it was talking to white people, and there's this thing called intergroup dialogue, right? Where I'm a Black woman and I am leading a group of white people through this racial justice experiential storytelling about my lived experience as a Black woman. And then here, now go do the work because I'm tired. So that's the cycle, right? And now we're at a place where these MFs are like brazen, and they lost their ever-loving minds, and I don't feel safe anymore.
Yeah.
Going, and we even shifted the game a bit, where I used to go to white spaces. Now, nah, you got to come to me on my. If you want this,
Right.
you got to pay,
Yeah.
and you got to come to me, because then that shows me that you want it, and there's an investment, right?
Yeah.
So now, judgment and curiosity. So if you're curious, then I'm down to have a conversation with you. I'm down to have a liberating conversation with you. And saying, Alice Walker says that, anyone who is down for the liberation of Black beloveds can be womanist. Now, some of us are like, okay, oh, wait, I ain't ready for that yet. Can we, focus on us right now? But in the spirit of the intention, how do we then, or do we, how do how do I want to ask this? Because it's
So I think I can intuit where you're going. Let me
Okay,
try to take a stab at
talk
it.
to me. Yeah,
So
talk
I
to me.
think the work that you're engaged in is very similar to the work that I'm engaged in, where I work with organizations, both nonprofits and corporate entities, who are seeking to move and deal with this issue called race, which W.E.B. Du Bois so accurately said that it was going to be the issue of the 21st century. He didn't know, he may not have known how right he was, but it's the issue. And in that, it's because just as there are a number of people who are asleep on our side, around 90%, they would say, the same is true for people who have swallowed the white pill, right? And so there are brothers and sisters. Before I go there, let me set the table. The most powerful organization for liberation of Afro-Indigenous people that ever existed on this planet was the Underground Railroad, that lasted for over 100 years, and it uh, freed over 175,000 souls. No argument about that. That was what were its elements of success that made it that successful, was that it was multiracial, it was multi-generational, and it had a womanist leadership inside of that organization. Those are the elements that created the most powerful liberatory organization on the planet of Afro-Indigenous people. So we just got to wash, rinse, and repeat it. There were people who identified with whiteness who had to be, and you can hear this with Sojourner Truth in Ain't I a Woman, where she's battling against these white feminists of her day who wanted to liberate her because she was black, but did not want to liberate her as a for her to be seen on the same level as womanhood as a white woman, right? So this it's very, it takes a superhero healer to be and navigate those spaces, because whiteness is a disease that is very entrenched. And in fact, Malcolm X would say it's as American as apple pie. And so extricating those souls that are desiring to move out of that is part and parcel of many of our work in healing, right? When you come across a person who's a true healer, that person heals whoever comes or whatever comes in contact with them, whether it be humans, whether it be plants, whether it be whatever. A healer is a healer is a healer, and it doesn't discriminate, because healing energy is abundant, it's infinite, and so it just pours forward to whoever needs it. With that being said, I do understand that we are operating under extreme circumstances. We've done it before, is my point. If Harriet Tubman could navigate the abolitionist of her day, if Sojourner could navigate the abolitionist of her day, if Frederick Douglass could navigate the abolitionist of his day, then by surely, with all that our ancestors have laid forward for us, we can navigate. And yes, sometimes that requires that we be brave, but there is no freedom without bravery. The two come hand in hand. So I do think there is a role and a place to play for those human beings who have gotten caught up in the whiteness, the myth of whiteness, and identify as such. And as healers, specifically, I do see it as incumbent for us to make sure that we are offering healing to those who can receive it.
Wow, that is very helpful. Thank you for you're spot on. That's what I was trying to get at, because again, it's a both and. Like it's
Yeah,
going to take a village. It is going to take those that can get into those spaces that we cannot get into,
that's right.
and then shift the game or make noise or be the rub, or it's going to take us collectively with our trillions of dollars to make the difference, to make so I hear you. I feel you. It's the both
Yeah.
and. So with that, we've just experienced a lot of dumbass uh, executive orders, right? I really try, the children.
I
I did,
know, I
you know,
know, I know. The children love it. That's what's
I
actually going to bring the kids. Sadly to say. They gonna love that.
Right, right. Who? Yeah. So we just experienced a whole bunch of executive orders that really contradict themselves. Like this whole thing where it's only men and women, and the way they wrote the executive order was so stupid that technically everybody is now designated female because they described it before the X and Y chromosomes. It was something crazy. And I'm like, are y'all really that stupid? So then we had the executive order of, this whole meritocracy, which is a joke because not a near person who was approved for these cabinet positions have any type of merit, integrity, fortitude, nothing, right? So now, how do we respond where I am experiencing a lot of Black beloveds who are either unemployed or and it's hard to find employment. It's harder now to get into colleges and universities because people are kissing the ring. We see what's happening at Target. We see what's happening, with other organizations that just pull DEI. I remember you saying, who really benefited from DEI was white motherfuckers. They benefited from it because of the diversity you were just talking about. You need the diversity for the bottom line. And even though your intention was in a capitalistic view, we benefited because we were able to come in and do what we do. So now, with all of this going on, how you talked about healing, how do we heal from within? How do we continue to live out our purpose, which was one of the recent assignments in the boot camp, defining our purpose? Just a shameless plug for True North. If you didn't hear the intro, True North Institute, they have a boot camp right now, and I'm sure H Soul will, there's more stuff coming up. But how do we hold on to our sanity, our healing, our divine prowess in moving forward, in moving from survival to thrival?
Yeah, great question. So I I have to iterate for us, and I see my brother Larry is already making mentioning of
Oh,
it.
oh, okay.
There is we because we are living in this particular society, we often forget, like Hiram Abiff, who we actually are and the power that we hold inside of this culture. And we're made to forget that. That's purposeful. That's why there were as many Black people shocked to hear that white women were the biggest benefactors of DEI as there were white folks that, and that's because many Black people have bought into the mythology of whiteness that says white people pull themselves up from their bootstraps, Black people pull themselves up based upon the government handouts.
Mm.
But that was shown not to be true when you strip down and look at the data. And so the truth of the matter is that even if you, and this is what I'm telling my brothers and sisters who are inside of corporate spaces and they're concerned about DEI, I want you to think about this for a moment. And we don't, it bears consideration. If the Republicans, or if this government administration is actually being holds true to its word and says that they're going to enact a meritocracy. If that were true, and it's not, but if it were true, the if you were going to base and hire solely upon merit alone, there is no more papered group of people than Black women. So the future, if you're going to use merits, Black women are the most lettered, most papered, most qualified, most experienced individuals so a meritocracy would make this place look like Wakanda. So what they're actually doing is backing themselves into another hypocritical corner that they're going to have to somehow disentangle themselves from. But what's even more important is we can't buy into those messages. Most of the stuff that you see right now that's coming from this administration is simply virtual signaling. It holds no, it's equivalent to when we were on the playground and the bully showed up and was flexing at you, right? He flex at you because they want to see how scared you are, and you right. That's all that he's doing right now. He's flexing for his people. He's flexing to see who's scared among us. I love the way Black women are showing up in this space. Like, yo, you know, we're not scared, right? Like, we're not scared. Like, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted, right? And this is true if you look back through the history of this country. In the Great Depression, it was white folks that were jumping out of buildings. Black folks weren't jumping out of buildings because they lost all their money on Wall Street. Why? Because they weren't allowed to invest on Wall Street. So we weren't tripping over the depression. We have been in a depression already. That's on y'all. That's what y'all are about to experience. We know how to make a dollar out of 15 cents. We're not tripping. So yes, I do understand that there's going to be an impact, that economic impact based upon the policies that are coming through this administration. What I hope my people get from that is a hearkening back and a calling to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and to Rosewood, and to the other hundred some own Black towns that we came together and gathered and created economic bases and traded amongst ourselves and worked together in order to create these blossoming cities that lived in the midst of the terrorism around them. And so I would ask people to go back, like there's nothing new under the sun. What did your ancestors do with this? If you think what we got in that White House is worse than what they was dealing with down south, you better think again. We've been under darker times than this, much darker times than this. So this ain't no time to get weary now. This is the time to remember to do what the ancestors say in Sankofa. Go back and fetch the mindset, the spirit, the energy necessary to fortify yourself in order to move through this and not just survive, but to thrive.
Wow. Yeah. It's going to take this communal, underground, stealth. Cause you just like you can't take my soul, you can't take my history, you can't touch my ancestors, you can't touch my spiritual prowess, and you got to know that.
You got to know it.
So it's people like you, which is why I'm so grateful that you took the time to share with us tonight, because people need to know this. And they need to know that there is hope solely based on who we are. It's not
Period.
contingent upon what is happening around us. It is what is intrinsically in us and in our DNA. As Kendrick said, like, yo, I deserve this. I deserve it all. I deserve it all. They not like us. You know, when you put it into this context, this is why they hate us for no reason, because you can't be us, you can't understand us, you can't take away our spiritual prowess, you can't touch our tribal instincts, you can't trust our survival and thrival mode. They're like, damn, why these motherfuckers still here?
It defies all scientific possibilities. It really does.
It
It really
really
does.
does.
Yeah.
So, in our last 5 minutes together, I do want to give you a further opportunity because people have just experienced just a glimmer of what you offer to this world and how you are such a gift to this world.
Thank you.
Tell us, it's my honor. Tell us what's going on in your world and the offerings that you have. How can people find you? You know, True North Institute and other things you have. Please share. Give us some gifts about. Offer some gifts of what's going on in your world.
Yeah, so sis, the work that I'm involved in now is life work, right, and legacy work. My children work in my company with me. We are a organization that is focused on creating alternative systems that help and support uh, people through the process of healing and whatever that looks like. And I don't mean in just abstract terms, but in managing their diet, managing their career, managing their overall health and well-being, whether it be in corporate spaces, whether it be in relationships, whether it be in their purpose. And so right now, as you have mentioned, you're participating in our 10-week program, which is an ongoing program that we offer to community to help us um, to disengage from the matrix in such a way, and you and I have, some of us, our ancestors force us to disengage from. They need us so much that they force us to detach from the matrix, even against our own desire to want you know to stay connected. And in that detachment is a pain, but it's also the healing. And so we're about supporting alternative systems that will render the current systems obsolete. And so I'm not about fighting anybody, right? I work with all groups of people. I work with corporate spaces, nonprofit spaces, men, women, straight, gay, whatever. I'm pro everything. I'm not anti anything. And so in
Mhm.
being pro everything, I'm pro human, I'm pro life, I'm and I mean pro life in the truest sense of the word, right? All of this is, you got to be careful what you're saying, right? Um, so I support life in all of its forms, and that's the work that we do at True North, for corporations, for organizations, for nonprofits, for individuals. And so I'll share my links as far as the stuff that we're engaged in. It's, you can find me on LinkedIn, under H Soul. You can find me on Instagram under H Soul. You can find me on Facebook under Sarah or H Soul. I'm not that hard to find, fortunately. And so, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity, sister. I love what you're doing here and creating these conversations. And the truth be told is that these conversations, as all conversations of the underground, are taking place in pockets down by the river, and down by, in near the creek, and wading in the water, and all those other places that we know that we have to have these conversations. So I thank you for continuing to hold brave space for us in the midst of this chaos, a place where we can gather and heal and connect and commune with each other. So thank you again for the invitation. I'm truly honored.
Thank you. We have just posited seeds. We didn't, reveal our 10-point master plan. We didn't reveal what we doing in the hush harbors. We didn't
Right,
reveal what we doing, offline in the cut in people's houses. But what we
right,
do need to do, because there are unfortunately people that don't know.
yeah,
And when we just posit that seed, it offers an opportunity for someone because in order to fix it, you got to face it, right? Whether it's
mm,
yourself or the situation, you got to be able to name it. So this is a moment to posit some seeds so that prayerfully those around will begin to nurture, to water, to till the soil, to have these conversations offline so that we can grow and we can grow. And then, like K. Dot says, sometimes you gotta pop out on a nigga.
sometimes you gotta pop out.
You gotta pop out, and
Sometimes you
we
gotta
about
pop
to pop out. That's
out.
it. That's how we about to do it. So
I know
we
that's right.
Listen, I'm so grateful. And beloveds who are listening, who are live, who are going to listen to this later, please be encouraged. You know, I talk about hope, quoting from Saint Augustine. Hope has two daughters, anger and courage. Anger at the
Mm,
way things are, and the courage to ensure that they don't remain that way. So hope is not some pious posture where you just sit there and you're like, I hope this happens. Now we got to put in the work, the deep work, as Soul would spell it, WERK. We got to put
yes.
in the work. So I will be sure to continue to share True North Institute and their offerings. I am a part of the 10-week boot camp, and I'm telling you, it is life changing. We should all be life learners. So no matter how old or young or anywhere in between, whatever spectrum you fall on, this is for you personally, professionally, communally, for your family. True North is I've just watched H Soul evolve just it into this beautiful, beautiful gift to the world. So beloveds, clap it up for show H Soul some love. My brother Larry said, thank you, brother. Enjoy listening to your positive message. You know,
Larry,
y'all send him some messages and some encouragement. And I thank you, beloved. I thank you for rocking with me for so long. And I look forward to great things to come. Oh, one other thing. Can you just show us your shirt? Because I have Black Art Matters honoring Kendrick, and my brother is allergic to mediocrity. All right?
it breaks me out and hives. I love
Beloved,
black.
thank you so much. Thank you. So
Yeah,
Jan said, thank you. Continue to help feed our soul, pun
thank
intended,
you,
a
man.
soul. So we out. This is Tuesdays with Tawana with Dr. Tad with our special guest, H Soul, True North Institute. Check it out and let us continue to move forward in liberation, in community, in healing, so we can move from survival to thrival. And in the words of H. Soul, this is chess, not checkers. Get
Sure.
on code, beloveds. Get on
Gosh.
code. Thank you, beloveds, for being with us on today. I look forward to seeing you on next Tuesday as we continue to build community one episode at a time. Much love, everyone.